Please do not jump yourself into none of these vehicles and avenues if you're not disciplined. Because majority of these plans that I'll speak about, or if you tap into me and I give you more information on, you got to be long-term about it. You got to be consistent, and you got to be on top of your shit. Point blank, period.
Period.
There's no way for you to excel and get any value out of this. And then you're going to be the first one screaming that this is a scam, but it's not a scam. You just not disciplined.
And one rule of thumb, everything in America concerning capitalism is a scam. Where you get in on the scam determines directly what your results are going to be.
What's up, y'all? Get ready to break it down and level up. Welcome to Doing Numbers, your #1 financial literacy podcast in the world. Clap it up. I'm your host, Olu.
I'm your host, Scott.
So bring your pen and pad because it's about to get real.
It's real.
What up, Scott?
What up, bro?
How you feeling today? We jerseyed out.
I feel like running up numbers. You see, I got the Hall of Famer himself on today.
The Devin boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You feel me? I don't know if you can see the back because I don't know if I turned it all the way up.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah, man. How you feeling today?
Man, I feel great.
Yeah?
I feel great, man. I feel empowered to talk alternative plans.
Yeah, because you just got your cert, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep, got my certification.
Yeah, you ain't got to get no disclaimers or nothing like that.
I ain't got to get no disclaimers or nothing. Just straight heat for everybody to take a little piece out of, man, and start thinking about it.
Okay, so when you're talking about alternative plans, what comes to mind?
Alternative plans for me is getting away from what we used to and now opening ourselves and subjecting ourselves to what is going to help drive us in the direction that we've always wanted to be in, or that most of us would want to be in. And I understand that a lot of people may not, want to be wealthy. And I had to really start to sit back and stop using that word so much. Because, through this financial literacy podcast, even though we talk and we aspire people to get up off the couch and have some get up and go about them, to, put themselves in a better situation. Some people just want to be comfortable. And that's cool. I have no problem with that. I don't despise anybody that wants to be comfortable. I don't despise anybody that feels good about where they are. But I do want to give hope. And with that, there's a lot of great things that can happen out of that, man.
Okay. Let me hear it.
So my mantra, man, behind what I do and the message that I'm trying to get across is, would you build a bridge that you knew would crumble if you crossed it?
That's a bar. God, that's a bar.
So again, would you build a bridge if you knew it would crumble before you crossed it?
My answer is hell no. I'm scared of heights.
But we find ourselves, man, in our traditional 9-to-5 workplaces and spaces like that, where we are building a bridge. In theory, well, honestly, not even in theory, in all actuality, that is going to crumble, eventually. And this is the moment for those who, aren't necessarily wanting wealth, but still want to have a good foundation set for them.
Gotcha.
Leave behind a legacy. Have a peace of mind. Get some tax breaks. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Like, everyone deserves a little tax break. You feel me?
For sure.
So, being able to utilize that. And also being able to have another assignment to use as collateral versus using some of your hard assets that you really need.
Right.
And it's not to say that you don't need these particular products or what I have to offer, but it's not as heavy on the mind if you got your house put up on something.
For sure.
Or you got your whip put up on something. Then how you gonna live? Or how you gonna get around to continue to make that, additional income you need to make?
Fact. People need that.
People need that. And myself, I haven't always been, honestly, not even have always been. I've never been taught this. Never. From all of the most, astute, studious people that I know, I don't know if it was just, hey, this isn't the right time to have that discussion with you, so I ain't gonna throw them under the bus completely, but it was just never, it was just never a conversation that we had at the moment. So without further ado, I want to introduce my plan and my presentation to you. And also, hopefully this can help a lot of people out there that are listening to not only think about and start to, train your mindset into thinking about these alternative plans and how you want your retirement to look. But also get with me. Get with somebody that's licensed. Get with somebody that can help you strategize in designing your money and legacy to watch it grow and protect the way that you want it to.
Okay.
So I have the first part of my presentation is not always, but I would like for people to use their use journalism in this particular situation, because I'm one that really doesn't like to write. My lady does, and I've seen what it does with her and how well she's advanced through certain situations. So I like to say for the first 5 minutes, think about or write about in this particular situation. We won't take 5, but those are out there listening, take 5 minutes to think about where you'll be in 10 years. And will you still be at your 9 to 5, or will you be starting a different venture, or will you be retired? These, to me, are the 3 questions that I think are important as far as establishing how to design and grow your alternative plan the right way. So for you, Scott, where would you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I'm not going to be in America. I will have my investments reach a portfolio of around maybe $180 to $200,000. That's my plan.
Okay.
I will be either in Africa or Europe. I will have an investment portfolio in real estate of $500,000, but liquid. My investments would have yielded $200,000 liquid.
So you definitely starting a different venture around that time. You're no longer in your 9 to 5, is what I'm hearing. And so would you say your mental and physical capacity to work would be dwindling as those years go on up to 10 years?
I'll be working, just not for a major corporation. Like, I'll be venturing into entrepreneurship across international waters, XYZ, trying to find my way in the import-export, just basically supplementing the funds that I've saved, invested, XYZ, so I don't have to pull from them.
Now,
401k, etc.
Got you. And what's your thought on the 401k?
I think it's a useful vehicle, especially if you plan to work long term. I don't think that it holds the same weight that it used to for our predecessors, like our ancestors, who used it to supplement the golden years of their life. I don't think it has the same power that it had back then. So now you have to supplement those funds in order to give yourself a bigger cushion. Got you.
And so my thing is that with that, and I don't anticipate anyone. I'm not telling you to strip your 401k, not invest in it, not put money towards that. That'll be dumb to say. But utilize that as a vehicle to get you into a better space financially. And that's the component that we're missing out on. We use the 401k as the golden year leverage to take care of what we want to take care of, not understanding how this world works, the economic crisis that, we find ourselves in every, 6 to 10 years. We're going through something economically, whether that's inflation, whether that's a black swan event, whether that's just political factors that contribute into that.
Explain to our listeners what a black swan event.
So a black swan event would be like COVID-19. You also have like the Black Plague.
Sure.
Those real national catastrophes that devastated not only the economy but diminished the population. Sure. That we have to contribute to those pots. So these are all things that we don't take into consideration. Even look at COVID-19, for instance. No one in the hell, unless you were Dr. Fauci himself or you was a part of it, you know what I'm saying, in the CDC as to some fashion of knowing that this was happening, or in the government. But for the average Americans who were just waking up, going to work every day, taking care of their daily livelihood as they normally do, you were not expecting this. And these are things that can not only cripple your 401k, but could really diminish what your retirement looks like down the line. Sure. Because the 401k is basically us betting against the market. To take you through a little history, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but since we're on the topic, the 401k was actually a part of the Revenue Act in 1978. which the title 401k is actually a tax break within the IRS that allowed executives to not have to fork over a pension. So it wasn't set up or designed for us to have long-term, generational wealth or benefits from. It was honestly a tax break that the executives got. So all of your billionaires who we see now, they were once millionaires at this point, and it was because of this 401k that excelled them up to becoming a billionaire.
Because they used those funds to propel them forward as opposed to living off of.
There you go. Mm-hmm. They got tired of saying, hey, I don't want to keep paying, because the pension, basically, for those that don't know, you've heard your great-grandfather mention about a pension. You heard your great-grandmother, grandfather, grandparent, someone elderly that was probably born in the 30s or somewhere along that line. You've heard of them mention pensions. And what a pension is you've worked for a company for about, I want to say, anywhere between 20, 30 years, you get vetted in for a lifetime, which means they are getting paid by these executives every year, or however they set it up, monthly, quarterly, annually, but they're getting paid to basically be retired. And a lot of executives wasn't down for that. Quite frankly, like, man, screw that shit. I'm losing out on money because now I got to pay for all these people who are deciding to stay with my company. I got 100+ people that now I got to pay out for the duration of their life a retirement plan. Bro, screw that, because my son, my daughter I can't really afford the college that I want them to go to. So now we got to figure out a way to go up to Congress and figure out, hey, how can we find this or implement this as being a tax break for us? So now we put the onus and the responsibility on the individual, on that citizen.
Sure.
So, again, it was never intended to be to replace pensions, but to more so make you go up against the market and fund your own retirement, which I feel like is a load of shit.
I agree with that. I think it's all by design, though, right? Like, the richer put these stigmas and put out these misinformations about products and services and financial products that benefit them way more than it benefits us, i.e. the 401k, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they gave us the same product they were using, but didn't tell us how to use it adequately.
Because
what position would they put them in?
Exactly.
Right?
It put them in a real tough bind.
The 1% would become the 5%.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. I feel like it takes conversations like this for us to bridge the gap between being knowledgeable and equitable from being impoverished of both finances and mind. Yeah,
that's true. And then you got, from the 2000s to 2010s, you had the dot-com crash. Between that and the Great Depression, or the Great Recession, I should say, in 2008, that totally wiped out a lot of people's savings. A lot of people had money lined up, was ready to retire, and then boom, this event happens. Now they got to totally redirect, all because they put, honestly, their eggs in one basket, which was the 401k. So I'm not only talking to, I'm talking to everybody here that has a 401k plan set up, and especially my millennials and those up under us. You definitely got to make sure that you're tapping into different alternative plans, which I'm going to definitely get into, but I want y'all to understand that this 401k is a way that you're building a bridge, and you feel like, yeah, I'm doing something right, which you're not wrong. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, like my man Scott has always said, to you guys. So, and this is a way to avoid your bridge from crumbling, because ultimately it will. It's not going to give you the what and the reason of why you work this hard once you get to the back end. Think about it. The government is taxing us on the harvest of our investing rather than the seed. And if you know anything, or you up on game and familiarizing yourself with financial literacy, you understand that who would want to be taxed on the harvest? That's all your money right there. I would much rather be taxed on the seed as it's developing and growing, because there's only a short amount that I can get taxed versus a hefty amount on the back end when it's time for me to start using my money.
Getting extorted for everything you work for.
Everything. So the average American retires at the age of 62.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. And again, there's 3 ways that we generally invest. We do a 401k, or we have another type of employer-sponsored plan, being like a 403b. You got your traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, things of that nature, which are great for tax advantages. There's a lot of opportunity to have growth deferred tax incentives within that. But
do mutual funds and annuities fall under that?
Mutual funds does fall into that, but there's fees that come along with that. And then honestly, you are taking a gamble with someone else, basically, handling everything for you. And I know that kind of sounds like risky and scary, but you got to just keep that in mind. So I think mutual funds are great, but there's ways that you can leverage that without having fees associated to it and so forth. Exactly. Yep. And then, so you got contribution limits when it comes to Roth IRAs.
Okay.
Even in 401ks, it's a qualified plan. So what qualified plan is, that means it's money that you're actively making within an occupation. Gotcha. So with the 401k, you're not able to use non-qualified money, i.e., lottery winnings, or you just pulled some money out of some random place and now you're trying to inject it into your 401k.
Gotcha.
And that's where a lot of these executives have understood and found that loophole where they can't fund this unless they working for us. And if they not working for us, then we no longer have to contribute anything. We don't have to match anything, right? I know a lot of us have heard, get with employers that match up to what you can contribute.
A certain percentage,
which roughly is about 3 to 6%. Now, you do got some companies that are favorable, which is a rarity, but they actually match 10 to 15. I don't know what occupation that is out there that's matching 10 to 15%, but if so, please let me know. I'm willing to find out. Hell, I might even apply. But yes, that is a thing. But generally speaking, on average, it's about 3 to 6% that you're being matched. So if you think about it, most millennials, especially those are our age, between the ages of 32 to 39, we're not really with companies that long. We hang around companies for maybe about 4 to 5 years max. Now, on average, you're looking at about 34,000 that you get ready to walk away with in your 401k, and you just might not even be vetted. And that's the part that a lot of us miss out on. You're not 100% vetted just because you contribute immediately to a 401k.
What does it take to be vetted?
Tenure. It takes tenure.
In your occupation or
within your occupation.
Gotcha.
So, some companies may say, hey, you want to be vetted in for 5 years before you get 100%, back off of this. Or, 3 years, you're at 50%. You vetted in 50%. So you only get 50% of the contribution. So again, they're leveraging it more to their benefit because they're banking on us quitting. They're banking on us losing our job through, economic crisis or laying off people. So it takes a lot of pressure and dollars off of the executives when it comes to this 401k. And personally, that's why I'm not a so huge fan of it the way that I once was.
I was just thinking on a more personal level, I struggle with the 401k, or my experience with the 401k. Because I used to work in logistics. So with those jobs, you work a lot of hours in a very condensed amount of time, but you only end up working half the year. So most jobs like that contribute highly to your 401k, but it doesn't reflect in your balance. And you can only pull out a percentage of that amount anyway. So let's just say I got fired. I needed to pull my 401k down. Not only would I only be able to take a certain percentage of it, but that percentage itself will be taxed.
That is correct.
So my experience with that is, what's the use of a 401k until I retire? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So right now, I've been working at my job for, let's say, 2.5 years. And I only have about $20,000 in that 401k for the time that I've spent at that job. And if I'm thinking about it, if I pull down any money, the most I can hope for is maybe $6,000.
Yeah.
And that $6,000 to be taxed 11%.
You're not off. You're actually right on. So There is a 10% penalty tax for withdrawing. Now, you can take a loan out of a 401k, which is, and you set yourself with a repayment plan, but it's not going to be a favorable repayment plan. They're going to have interest on top of that.
Because they're taking most of the risk,
Because they're taking most of the risk. Gotcha. So you're getting double tax. You get a traditional 10% tax penalty for pulling out before 59 and a half. Right. That's the rule, 59 and a half rule. And then you're just generally getting federal tax on top of that for just pulling out actual revenue. Gotcha. So, like you said, if I got 20,000 sitting in my account and I'm looking to draw out, 10,000, I'm probably gonna walk away with maybe like 6, 7. Right. Now, look how much money you've missed out on. That's $14,000 that has just completely went vanish mode. And now you got to work to build that back up. Let alone you're not even mentally there to you want to quit every day. Basically, is what I'm getting at. So you want to quit every day. So it's like you really in a rat race, pretty much chasing your tail when it comes to these type of situations. If you don't set yourself up with an alternative plan, the median 401k balance for age 55 to 64 is 88,000. Mm-hmm. So you think about that. That's not even 2 years of living expenses for most people.
And that's right now today without.
And that's right now today.
Right.
That's today. That's not even including inflation. And then you got the millennials who on average are making about 34,000 in their 401k, which, you can get a down payment on a house, but now what about retirement? Right. So you got your house, but again, your bridge is not fully developed. Mm-hmm. So now you're going to have moments of crumbling. And you're going to be, you put all this money up front into buying a house, but you haven't strategically set yourself up on the back end to be able to enjoy that house, to be able to create a family, for the reasons of why you got a house. Exactly. You know what I mean? So these are the things that we got to pay attention to when we're deciding to invest in the 401k and thinking that that's the only way out.
And we need to schedule and market a plan for how to utilize the 401k so it multiplies into something that we can use that's more sustainable, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so you got stocks. I'm a stock market guy. I'll give you a story of mine of how the stock market didn't, how I love the stock market, but me not being financially literate the way that I should have, how it crippled, my future success or my short-term success. So in 2021, I ended up working at a grocery store. I was working at not even gonna name the grocery store. But I'm a stock guy. Mm-hmm. I invest in stock. I think that that's a great vehicle to, dive into and utilize it. But there's a certain way that you should utilize the stock market. Gotcha. And I'm gonna tap into that. Okay. So how I utilize it wasn't necessarily the right way. I was utilizing the stock market as livable income, and that's not what the stock market is there for.
What is it for?
Stock market is there for you to utilize your earnings and your winnings from it to now move that over into another vehicle that can compound that bread, that interest, that cash value that you just took out of the stock. So for instance, I came here and right after COVID, 2020, couldn't find a occupation, but I ended up finding this grocery store to work at. Hated it, micromanaging job.
Hated it.
Yeah, had a manager over my head, teenage staff. So obviously you understand that eventually I quit.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Just couldn't tolerate it anymore. And that put me down for a little bit. Jobs was not hiring at the time. So luckily at the time I had invested in Moderna. Moderna was a vaccination company that has done great work over the time that, we were in the COVID-19 crisis between them and Novavax. So I did a lot of research. I'm a buy and hold type guy, not really into the options like that, but I'm definitely down to learn. So I bought and I held on this up until I want to say 2022 is when I caught a little break. I made $3,000 off of that, off a $600 investment. Right. I was, as you know, $3,000. I'm looking at my my Robinhood account. I'm like, oh shit, it's time to party. You know what I'm saying? Call up the folks. We having a barbecue.
Oh no.
Livable income is what my mentality was telling me. Not understanding that, hey, you don't know when you about to get this next job.
Exactly. Yep.
You don't know, what your situation looks like. But yet you banking on this $3,000, this little measly $3,000, which shows you $3,000 is nothing, y'all. It goes just like that. So investing in $3K Pull the 3K out. Now I'm living off of that. I got all my bills, got a house. I got was getting ready to have a kid, got a car that I'm finishing paying off, and then I just got other general expenses. I got my homies I want to kick it with. That 3,000 vanished just like that. And I didn't have nothing else set aside or no more money coming in.
No contingencies.
No contingency. So you invest, you take out 3,000. How quickly do you feel like you're gonna make that 3,000 back in the stock market? Not that fast.
Because it took you to 2 months from the 2 stocks that you picked in order for them to hit in the first place, and that's on the lucky side, huh?
On the lucky side. I just happened to do my due diligence.
Right.
Exactly. And it happened. But instead of saying, okay, here's 3,000, let me go put this in another play, whether that be real estate or buy me a vending machine or something like that, I just blew all the money and didn't have nothing else. So what I want you guys to understand is the alternative plans that are out there outside of your traditional savings accounts, outside of your high yields, because even those have an average of 0.45 and an average of 1.82. High yields is 1.82. Savings accounts is 0.45. You're not saving nothing. You got $10,000 in the bank. You're only making $45 on it over the year. So you telling me you work this hard to make $10,000 just to receive $45 a year from the bank? The bank is not your friend. The bank doesn't work for you. You work for the bank. And we have to understand that.
And I guarantee you they're making way more money than you are on your own money.
Oh, and that's fractional banking right there. That's fractional reserve banking. So when you go and you look at and you make a deposit, you think, oh yeah, I got my direct deposit just hit. I got 3,000 in my account from work. You don't. That number that you see on your account is literally not there. Your money doesn't sit in the vault and it just has your name on it. Yeah, this money is specifically for what's the name whenever they or she or he gets ready to put, to withdraw that cash.
It's just a digitized value of the representation of what you've earned.
There you go.
There's no cash at the institution that you're putting your money in.
None. Now, it is their job because like Scott said, is to find ways to compound off the interest and get other people's money to then fund you. So when you're ready to make a deposit or not a deposit, but a withdrawal, the money's there.
Exactly.
So your money is there, but it's not there at the same time if you follow what we're saying. And that's through different ways like loan and mortgaging, trading and investments, security trading and other investments, and then your interchange fees, which banks help other banks financially stay afloat and things of that nature. So again, don't always rely on the bank. Don't think the bank is working for you. You're actually working for the bank. And then that's just not including inflation as well. So you're now losing dollar power while your money sits in that account.
All right.
So these other ways and these alternative plans that I have for you, we talked about, you briefly spoke about annuities. Right. I think annuities is a great tool to use, especially for those that are first-time home buyers and want to utilize it as a down payment on a home. If you follow that structure and you stay disciplined, and that's another thing, you got to be disciplined. Please do not jump yourself into none of these vehicles and avenues if you're not disciplined. Because majority of these plans that I'll speak about, or if you tap into me and I'll give you more information on, you got to be long-term about it. You got to be consistent, and you got to be on top of your shit. Point blank, period. There's no way for you to excel and get any value out of this. And then you're going to be the first one screaming that this is a scam, but it's not a scam. You just not disciplined.
And one rule of thumb, everything in America concerning capitalism is a scam. Where you get in on the scam determines directly what your results are going to be.
There you go. So decide what you want. What do you want your retirement to look like? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. And then what I do is I help you design the plan for what that retirement is going to look like and what fits you. Okay. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to be retired and own a brick and mortar? Do you want to be retired and run an e-commerce or travel the world or just live in a dream home? We could keep it as basic as possible. We don't have to be, super out of the ordinary and out of the box if that's what you choose not to do, but have a what into why retirement means this much to you and what you want it to look like. Right. So you got annuities. You got IULs out there, which is a great vehicle to use.
Tell them what it stands for.
So it stands for Index Universal Life. So it has a cost of insurance component to it, with also another component that gives you tax-free opportunities with the 7702A code. I'm dropping gems. I hope y'all take advantage of that 7702A code, which helps you get a tax break on this particular type of vehicle. You also get wealth creation. You also get security. You also get cash value. So now, when you're looking at borrowing against something, you don't have to go to the bank necessarily. You can go straight into that cash value that you got within your plan, which is favorable to you because you don't need a credit check. And it also gives you good and favorable repayment options. Because at the end of the day, let's say you do default on that loan. Only thing they're going to do is take it out of your death benefit. How does that sound? Doesn't that sound much better than them taking your house away from you, them taking your vehicle away from you, them taking those hard assets that mean so much to you away from you?
Cash broke.
Or you just being flat out cash broke. You want to know how the 1%ers, the 2-3%ers are doing it? This is how they're doing it. They're investing in alternative plans like this, and they're utilizing that as leverage to then go and pull money out to then invest in other opportunity.
And they passing those same policies down generation to generation.
There you go.
That's how they keep their families rich.
There you go. And I saw this one thing. Coach Mike sent it to me. I don't know if he sent it to you too. Aristotle.
I'm still trying to sign my stepson application, so I guess it's coming in the mail. So.
Shout out Aristotle Investments too, by the way. We definitely want to get you on, man, one day here soon. But
come holler at us.
One thing that he posted was the guarantees that a man should have is a stock portfolio, life insurance, real estate portfolio, and becoming affluent in financial literacy. Just taking the time to read books and up your game on financial literacy. These are all important factors. So think about these things, y'all, as y'all continue to go down into, your retirement phase. And that's really all that I got for you. If you like what you heard, man, come holler at me. Let me help design your retirement plan. You can reach me at Doing Numbers Podcast. Shoot me a DM. Let me know that you're interested, and we could definitely set up an appointment.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Follow us at Doing Numbers on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's another episode of Doing Numbers, and we gone, y'all.
Peace.
That was solid.